morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning Five here on Monday, January 9th, 2017. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy to be joined by the Dean of Ohio State football recruiting, Bill Kurelic. Bill, I want to start off talking about Kendall Sheffield, the JUCO corner, ranked as the number one JUCO corner in the country according to the 24/7 Sports Composite. He was originally a five-star out of high school. I understand from reading your what I am hearing. He then went to Alabama for one season. Looking at the crystal ball, 93% of the prognosticators have him going to Ohio State, just 7% to Texas A&M. Where's he going to end up, Bill?
Well, if I had to say right now, I would say Ohio State, but I don't think it's necessarily a done deal yet. I had an item in what I am hearing last night. The three schools that are left are Ohio State, Texas, and Texas A&M that have been left. And Texas right now is not pushing for him. That doesn't mean he won't end up there, but they're not pushing for him right now. You look at things from the Texas A&M side, and they don't necessarily feel, at least right now, that he's going to end up there. I think it's going to come down to really two things. Does he want to go, he and his family, away from home? The proximity, of course, would be Texas A&M or Texas. Does he want to go away from home? And then if he does decide that he wants to go away from home, is Ohio State ready to take him into the class? There's been some surprises, obviously Noah Brown leaving, but there also have been surprises the other direction, such as Taekwon Lewis staying. So again, space is still a concern in this class. Maybe not as big a concern had, say, Darnay Holmes become a Buckeye, but space is still a concern in the class, and we'll see what happens. But if I had to predict right now, I'd go with Ohio State.
As you mentioned it, and what I'm hearing, that he was a five-star kid coming out of high school. So I'm just curious, he went to Belen Community College. Was simply because of grades? Is that why he did that?
Well, I think it was a combination of things, and including, obviously everybody wants to play, and once he went to Belen, there was plenty of talk that, he wanted to be back closer to home. He is from Texas. He's from Missouri City, Texas, and the possibility of wanting to be closer to home, and that's why proximity this time around has come into play. But, I think there was multiple factors as to him leaving Alabama. And the interesting thing is that while he might not necessarily have started this year for Alabama, he was going to get to play.
Oh, so there were no great issues at all with Alabama. He just left because he wanted to play and then go to a different school, and he didn't want to sit out. It was as simple as that. There was no academic issues or nothing like that?
Well, I think academically he would have been okay. And again, I think it's a combination of several factors, not just one single thing leading him away from Alabama. And it was, from what I've talked to the people at Alabama, a bit of a surprise that he left when it first came up.
Very interesting. All right, well, they have 18 in the class right now, Ohio State does, for their 2017 class. Obviously, Sheffield would make 19 if he does, in fact, commit to the Buckeyes. Just give me your prediction here. We're less than a month away from signing day. How many do you think the Buckeyes will sign less than a month from today?
Well, certainly they would love to add a defensive tackle to the class, and the two out there are, of course, Jay Tufele and then Marvin Wilson. I don't think they're going to end up with Marvin Wilson. Tufele's going to be tough. I think right now Utah is going to be tough to beat. Not impossible. I think if there's one school that can beat out Utah, it would be Ohio State. We'll see. But they'd love to add one of those defensive tackles. Certainly they're still in the Sheffield mix. And then there's the Ohio guys, for instance, Jalen Harris, who I tend to think is going to be in this class, especially now with Noah Brown leaving. I tend to think Jalen Harris will be in the class. You've got the offensive lineman from Massillon, Washington, that being Thayer Mumford. My gut feeling right now is that he won't be in the class, but he's certainly in the mix still because he's in the process. Looks like he is going to schedule an official visit to Ohio State. So I think when all is said and done, you're going to look for at least 20 prospects in this class and maybe 21. I kind of doubt they'll go to 22 or have space to go to 22, but I think at least 20.
21 sounds good to me. I hope that's what it is. That's a nice clean number, especially for a blackjack player like myself, so I'm hoping for 21. Now, you are the Dean of Ohio State football recruiting, of course. What a great nickname. Especially whoever gave you that nickname is a very wise man.
As coined by the Dave Biddle.
Thank you very much. But you also cover the team. You're always putting up stuff about guys losing their black stripe or guys enrolling or just different stuff about the team, guys leaving. So you watch the Buckeyes very closely when you actually take a little bit of a break from recruiting. So I want to talk to you about some team coverage issues. First of all, I keep saying nothing really surprises me anymore when I hear about Ohio State players leaving early for the NFL. I feel like I've seen it all. I mean, we had two guys last year that left early and weren't drafted. Now, thankfully, both Jalen Marshall and Tyvis Powell made NFL rosters, so it worked out well for them. But I got to say, when I heard Noah Brown was leaving early, that was a jaw-dropper for me. I did not see that coming at all. We had all these pre-written stories on Bucknuts about guys who we thought might leave. We even had one for J.T. Barrett, even though I really didn't think there was any chance he was going to leave. We did not have a pre-written story for Noah Brown. You had to jump on that. Were you shocked, or does nothing really shock you at this point?
I was surprised, I'll say that. I think if you could find somebody out there that were to say that it didn't at least surprise them a little bit, I'm not 100% sure they'd be telling the truth. You look at a guy that you look at the Ohio State passing game, and guys just couldn't get separation this year. And Noah Brown was a part of that passing game. And I'm not blaming it all on the wide receivers by any stretch, but when you looked out there, when the constant thing you heard all season is the wide receivers aren't getting separation, and in the NFL, you've got to be able to get separation if you're going to play wide receiver, especially against the elite cornerbacks and defensive backs in the world. So it's absolutely was a surprise to me. Will he make it? We'll see. I was talking to someone last night, and I said I can't see him getting picked before the 5th round, and this person, who I have a lot of respect for, said I'm not sure he's going to get picked at all. But again, Jalen Marshall, it worked out for him, but we'll see. I wish Noah the best in his decision, but yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah, he's a nice kid. I wish him well too. I mean, it's just now that he's made the decision, I don't think it's a good decision, but I will be rooting for him like crazy. He did good things for the Buckeyes, and he is, from my experience of talking to him, he is a really good young man. So it's a head scratcher. Maybe one day we'll get the full story, and we'll pass that on to the Bucknutters out there. But definitely a surprise. Curtis Samuel and Marshawn Lattimore, they're kind of like the last two. We're waiting for them. My gut is telling me that they're both going to go. And I said this even last week when we were hearing reports that Curtis might be leaning towards staying. I was still saying my gut says he's going to go. So I think both these guys are going to leave. What's your take on that? Do you think either one of these guys are going to come back?
Our guts are in the same position because I would be absolutely floored and shocked if Marshawn Lattimore came back. I mean, he's going to be a first-round draft choice, quite possibly a top 10 draft choice, and he's one hamstring injury away from his stock plummeting. He had all those problems initially. He went through the season without any. It showed he's a great player, and I just can't see him passing up the opportunity to go as high as I think he's going to go. And I'm certain he's a first rounder, first half of the first rounder, I certainly would think. In the case of Samuel, I agree totally with you that, there's some talk that maybe he was staying last week. I never really bought it, still don't buy it. I will be surprised as well if he comes back. And, if he doesn't, then it'll be next man up. And I think that'll be Demario McCall. And I think Demario McCall is going to be a really good player for the Buckeyes. In his limited duty this year, I think he showed what he can do. And I was extremely high on Demario when he was in high school, and I haven't changed my thinking one bit on him.
I like him a lot too. I am right with you on that. Run DMC, as I call him. I know that's a recycled nickname, but that's okay. I like it. It fits him. I really, really like him. I was hoping we're going to see Samuel and McCall together next year. Maybe Samuel playing a little more running back, also flanking out wide, because obviously Mike Weber can just play running back. But yeah, if Samuel does leave, McCall steps right in as the H-back, as the starting H-back. I completely agree with you, and he'll be very good in that role. Also, you had some news in what I'm hearing about Billy Price moving to center. This is something we opined about. This is something that I thought was a strong possibility, but you have confirmed this, and I think this is great. And this is much like Pat Elflein, starting at guard, but Billy will have started at guard 3 years, and now will be a 4-year starter, moving to center as a 5th-year senior. This is huge to me. Just talk about Billy Price moving to center.
Well, I'm not sure I confirmed it, but I will say that one of my sources told me that, as he put it, I'm sure of it when I asked him about it. But again, that's a source, and sources aren't always right. But I think that is the plan for him to move to center. Maybe he gets there and he works at it, and that's just not what he's best at, and it doesn't work out. But I think it's going to happen. I know they like to have experience at the center position, and there's nobody more experienced on that line than Billy Price, that's for sure. And I think that he sees it, and the coaches have talked with him about this, as an opportunity to play center and be right there in the middle and do that at the NFL level. So I think that's kind of the thought process, too, is that he can move on to the NFL as a center and excel there. So we'll see. But I think that's going to happen. At least the attempts will be made for him to play center, and to be honest, I think he'll do fine at that position.
Last thing, real quick. You might have heard there's a football game tonight. Alabama against Clemson, rematch of last year's national championship game. Who wins this game tonight?
Oh yeah, I have to go with Alabama. They've been that good all season, and after watching Clemson do what they did to Ohio State, certainly it gives me pause to think, maybe they will win this game. But I think it's going to be another great game, just like the last one was. And I think in the end, Alabama's going to win.
I'm going with Clemson in the upset. Maybe it's just because the assault of Ohio State. And they assaulted Ohio State in many ways that night in Glendale. Maybe it's because that's so fresh in my mind, but I think Clemson's going to get it done. I think they have the mental edge. I think the disarray with Alabama's coaching staff, even though they're saying, it's going to be smooth with Sark moving right into offensive coordinator. To me, that's a strange situation. Although then again, I know I'm picking the underdog. I hope we have a great game like we did last year, but I am picking Clemson in the upset. Well, great stuff as always out of the Dean of Ohio State football recruiting, Bill Kurelic. Really appreciate it, Bill. And thanks to all the listeners out there for tuning into the show. Hope everyone has a great day. Let's hear some Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.